Okay. All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to our Toastmasters meeting. For some reason, my picture went huge and you're all small and I don't like that. Let's see, who did that to me? Anyhow, tonight we are happy to all be together. It's wonderful to have Iman with us all the way from Egypt. One of the blessings of learning Zoom. If
sure,
COVID hadn't had, what was that?
Sure, it's connecting us together, yeah.
Even if it hadn't been for COVID, this would not be happening right now, I'm pretty sure. So there are silver linings everywhere. You just have to look for them. All right, tonight our theme is adages and proverbs. A very good theme for the night. And I was thinking about this for the last couple of days, you know, what comes to mind when I think of proverbs. And it took me a while, but there's one from the movie The Three Idiots that I really like, and it says, pursue excellence and success will chase you pants down. That has been a very influential idea for me, learning not to pursue success directly, but to be excellent and not be obsessed with achieving things and getting things, but rather to be excellent, and without even knowing it, pants down, success will come. You won't even be trying to get it. That's been important for me, especially in the last year. I was medical director at my clinic, but I'm not anymore because I pretty much was burnt out a year ago. And so I gave that up, which was humbling, but it feels like it ties in there with not worrying about achievement so much as being the best that I can be, and I had to step back, and so that was okay. So let's move on in our meeting here. We know we've got some functionaries for these speeches coming up, but before we meet them, just the overall structure of our meeting is that we'll have 2 prepared speeches followed by table topics, and then finally the evaluations where we all learn from someone's wisdom about what they noticed in the speeches. Let's now meet our functionaries. So our awe counter is Bhakti. Bhakti, give us a little overview of what you'll be doing tonight.
Thanks, Matt. I'll be looking for filler words such as etc. But I'll also be looking for repeated words such as and, like, kinda, many such words. So just keep an eye out for it. Take your time, take your pauses, and I'm looking forward to hearing your speeches tonight. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right. We've got Destin as our timer. Destin, tell us about the timing rules.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. So for the timing rules for the prepared speeches, for example, the timing rule is 5 to 7 minutes, unless stated otherwise. And at 5 minutes, I will be showing my green background. At 6 minutes, I'll be showing my yellow background. And at 7 minutes, I'll be showing my red background. And then the speaker will have 30 seconds to wrap up. Rhythm is saying that his speech will be 8 to 10, so it will be 8, 9, and 10 for the different backgrounds. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right. Thank you, Destin. And finally, we have our grammarian, who is Ajita. Ajita, what will you be doing tonight as the grammarian?
I will be the grammarian for tonight's meeting, and I'll be looking for good and bad usages of grammar throughout your speeches and evaluation and table topics. And we also have the word of the day, which is right here, which is gripping. And it means taking a powerful hold upon one's interest or feeling. If you have to use it in a sentence, I would use it. The film turned out to be a gripping thriller. That's the word for tonight. I encourage all of you to use it in your speeches, evaluations, table topics, wherever possible. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Ajita. All right, with that, let's move into our prepared speeches segment. We have two speakers tonight, Alex and Preetam. Our first speaker is Alex, and Ruchi is Alex's evaluator. So Ruchi, would you please give us a quick little overview of what we can expect from Alex's speech tonight?
Hi, everyone. Excited to hear Alex's speech. As always, he has great content to share with us. He is following the visionary communication path. It's not a project or a level today, but just a speech. Over to you, Matt. All the best, Alex.
All right. Alex, so I asked Alex if there was one proverb or adage that sums up something that he learned of importance over the last year, what is it? And he said it was that proverb about the two wolves, and it goes like this. There's a battle of two wolves inside of us. One is evil, one is good. The wolf that wins is the one that you feed. Which makes sense, but we forget it all the time. Where we put our energy, we will manifest things in that strain. And that is an excellent, excellent thing to learn. Where we put our mental energy. Alex's speech, he sent me the title and let's see. I'm stuck on a view where I can't get it full screen. It just, there's something covering it up. So I can't, oh, there we go. Okay, I think it came in here. Okay, how does it feel? That's the title. Alex's speech is, how does it feel? Help me welcome Alex as he gives us this speech. How does it feel?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our most welcome guests. Tonight, I want to lead us through a workshop of sorts about leadership and about how we lead people through things, and especially around global issues or human rights issues, things that we learn about or see in the news, or things that we learn about and see in our communities, and that we want to lead other people in acting. And the reason I want to lead us through this is because I needed to be led through this. And I needed to learn what I'm about to at least try to lead you through today, and I'm still in the process of learning it. As Matt said when he introduced me with this proverb about the two wolves, we forget it all the time. We forget the wisdom that we've learned. And so I hope that I can, with this workshop, help to remind myself and help to remind all of you of this little piece of wisdom about how we can lead other people. So we'll start in the abstract. This is an experience that we can all relate with. We see something on the news, we feel something, and then we want to do something or say something about it. Now, whatever that thing is, and whatever that thing that we feel is, we assume that there's this process that happens where we see it, we know it, and then we feel something, and then we do something about it. And so then we go about in our day-to-day lives or on social media, and we say, okay, well, if you know it, then you will feel the same way that I do, and you'll also do something about it. That's the way that I very often think about these sorts of things. And the pause that I want us to take is I want you to go to the moment that you learned that thing, whatever it is that you learned, whether it was something about climate change or something about the situation on the southern border or something about what's going on in Western China with Uyghur Muslims, whatever it is that thing that you learned, I want you to stop and I want you to think about how does it feel to know that thing? How does it feel to know what you now know? about that thing. It doesn't feel good. It feels like you're holding something that is hot or heavy, and it's hard to carry, and you don't want to hold it. Or it feels like you're not holding it at all. It feels like you can't even get your hands around it to pick it up. It's that heavy. It's not something you can do anything about. And that feeling is what I want to focus on tonight. Because that feeling can turn into a vicious cycle. Because I know that for me, a big part of a lot of my communication when I'm feeling that way is I just want you to feel that way. Because if you feel that way, then maybe you'll do something about it. But I can't do anything about it, you can't do anything about it. And so let's just feel miserable together. And at least we'll feel bad. But that doesn't actually help anyone. It doesn't change the fact that the climate is changing. It doesn't change the fact that there's 1 million people in concentration camps in China. Those things don't change if we just feel badly about them. And that's where I want to short circuit that process, because there's a different way to think about things. Because I know something, I feel something, I do something process doesn't actually work that way. Because there's a thing that happens in the middle that is critical, and it is, I know something, I feel something, I believe I can do something about it, and then I do something. And then when you're doing that something, that's when someone else is going to come along and see, that is bearable, that's doable, I can do that. And they follow. And I want to talk about an example from a few years ago. So 3 years ago, almost today, on June 20th, the American people ended the zero tolerance child separation policy in this country. The last administration set it up. They started it on sometime in the middle of May, it went into effect. And as soon as we learned about it, the American people started marching. They started talking about it. They started doing things. And that's the thing that inspired so many other people to get up and do something about it. They believed that something could be done, and they did. I got to join with a march of hundreds of thousands of people in Washington, D.C. And the environment in that march was not, okay, let's all feel bad about this thing that is happening to thousands of children. That wasn't the environment. It was this jubilant environment. This experience, it was gripping to be surrounded by so many people who believed that something could be done about this awful thing that was happening in our name. And then it did happen. And that's just the thing. That's the thing that I want us to focus on, is how does it feel for the people around you to know that you know this thing? Because when I went to that march, it felt good to be surrounded by people who believed that something could be done about that. And through that belief, those kids were helped, and it stopped. And now, thankfully, many of them are being reunited, and you can go and find videos of parents and their children being reunited, some of them after years of not being able to see each other. And it's a beautiful thing that was created by millions of people getting together and deciding we can do something about this. Now, I want you to apply that example to whatever it is that you learned over the course of the last week. Maybe you learned some concerning information about the Delta variant that is coursing through the UK, and you're worried that if people don't get vaccinated, this could get worse again. Or you might have learned something about climate change and how much worse it is than we think. And when you learn that thing, I want you to pause and think about, how does that make you feel? And is your goal to make other people feel bad about it? Or is your goal to make other people believe that something can be done about it? And the way that you help other people believe that something can be done about it is by doing something about it yourself. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Alex. Very inspiring. Let's take 1 minute and give Alex some feedback. So what did you love? How could he improve? Write these in the chat to Alex.
That's 1 minute.
All right. Thank you, Destin, for that clock. We are now going to move on to our second speaker, who is Preetham. And Preetham's evaluator is Hassan. Hassan, can you tell us what Preetham is accomplishing and what we can expect?
Hello, everyone. Preetham is going today to deliver a project of the Innovative Planning Pathway. It's a level 4 project. The project is create a podcast. The purpose is to introduce the podcast to an audience and also to present a segment of the podcast. Last month, he gave a speech about this podcast. He showed us a video, but today he's going to show the conclusion of this video. I look forward to watching this podcast.
All right, thank you, Hassan. I asked Preetham also, what is a proverb that he has connected with over the last year? And he said, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I believe we've heard this proverb in a speech or two in the club in the last year. So it's one that's stuck with Preetham, and it's so true. Join me in welcoming Preetham as he gives us his speech entitled The Fastest Way to Succeed. The fastest way to succeed, Preetham.
I will clarify something before I start. Hassan mentioned I was going to share my podcast. I am sharing my podcast, that is right, but I'm presenting it live to get feedback about the content. So as you heard, Matt, the title of the speech is The Fastest Way to Succeed. I was reading a book called $1 Million Habits, and it's written by Brian Tracy. He's a fairly successful salesperson who has shown other people how to succeed in sales. One habit that this book mentions was that the people who are really successful make a habit of learning from experts. And through this book, the author tries to present why learning from experts is the fastest way to succeed. As I was reading that, I remembered a story from my life that I am going to share, and that might help us understand why learning from an expert is important. So the year was 2009. I was in my undergrad studying mechanical engineering. A teenager like me needs a lot of money, as you would know, right? You need money to go to movies. You need money to go to parties. You need money to feed your friends. So my father always gave me some money as pocket money, but I felt that I always needed more. And there was no way I was able to find how could I make more money. I was a student. So one day I was going through the corridors of my college campus when I saw there was a poster stuck on the wall that said, "Wooden glider flying contest. Winner takes 1500 rupees." So 1500 rupees, I'll give you a sense. You could go to about 15 movies with that money, right? So lots of that money would go very far for me. And all I needed to do was make a glider. The only problem was I didn't know how to make a glider. I had always made paper airplanes, so I thought that making a wooden glider would be the same thing. If I can make a paper fly, I can make wood also fly. I went out, borrowed some money from my father and bought some pieces of wood, cardboard, and whatnot. I tried for about 2 weeks to make that piece of wood fly. I realized wood doesn't want to fly. No matter how hard I try, wood doesn't fly. How could wood fly? Who in the world could do that? I didn't know where to learn. So there were other competitions going on, wooden glider flying competitions. So I used to go to those competitions. And in those competitions, I saw one person always came. It was a tall, thin man. He wore some glasses with crooked hair, had a trimmed mustache. I found out from the other people around that area that he was an employee at a hobby shop which sold hand gliders. The people at those events always say that he is very mean. He doesn't speak very politely to people. Okay, so I thought, okay, these people are making it. I can also make it. Now I also can make it if I just can find somebody who can help me. In my undergrad college, I was studying mechanical engineering. In my class, there were two students that were very studious. They were always in the top of the class. One of them was Obhinav. He was a short, round guy, chubby cheeks, wear specs, always attended all classes. I never attended any. So he was my go-to guy to ask when were the exams. There was another guy who was an all-rounder. His name was Orko. He was brilliant at playing tennis. And then he also did fairly well, at least better than me in academics. I thought that these guys can help me. One day I invited them to my house for about 2 weeks. We tried everything that we could. And at the end of 2 weeks, both of them told me, Idam, this is impossible. A piece of wood cannot fly. We don't know how other people do it, but we don't think we can do it. I realized that that is not true because I've seen other people do that. It is not impossible, but for them it's not possible because probably it was not in our books for exams. So they didn't know. That time I remembered that guy who used to come at all those events, and he worked at a hobby shop. So this hobby shop was located about 45 minutes from where I stayed. I took a train early in the morning at 8 a.m., traveled for 45 minutes and went to his shop. His shop was located in a place called Little Russell Street in the city of Kolkata. It was a small shop with about a 5 feet wide entrance, and the depth of the shop was probably about 100 feet. So I went to the shop and I saw many gliders hanging there, and that man sitting at the counter. I walked up to that guy and told him, can you teach me how to make a glider? He looked up and told me, my name is Polash. Tell me, why should I teach you? I told him that I was going to a competition, and if I made money, I was going to share that money with him. He said, okay, I can teach you, but I need all the money. I thought, okay, if he wants all the money, at least he'll teach me to make a glider. When I started working with him, I realized that what other people had said about him was true. He was the meanest guy. I showed him the piece of glider I had made, and he laughed so hard that it was the biggest comedy scene he had ever seen. I worked with him for 7 to 8 hours that day. And for the 7 to 8 hours, he made fun of me continuously. But he didn't stop from helping me. At that day, while I sat down at a corner of the shop, I met experts in glider making that I had never met so frequently in just one day. Customers came and when they looked at my work, they came and spoke to me, their experiences. I felt I just learned so much staying in that shop for one day than I learned in 2 months that I was trying. After 7 to 8 hours, I was able to make something, a piece of wood that had a propeller in front of it, and that would actually fly. So I was preparing to leave when the owner of the shop came in, and the owner of the shop looked at the glider and said, "That is a very nice piece. How did you make it?" So Polash looked for me, behind me, smiled and said, "Just win the contest. You don't need to give me any money." I realized that how mean he was. He was throughout the time making fun of me. And he had no intention of taking my money. He just wanted to test my commitment. So from that, I realized why it is so important to learn from an expert and why it is the fastest way to succeed. I took that glider and won that contest, made 1500 rupees. I learned to make a piece of wood fly in 7 to 8 hours just by learning from an expert. Whereas 2 months before that, I had tried myself and tried to learn from people who had not walked the territory before. And I could learn nothing. So that is the reason we need to learn from experts. That is the first reason. The second reason is they test your commitment. It is true that we cannot succeed in anything unless we are committed to it. And these experts test that if you are actually committed or not. The third thing is that most of the time, these experts have an vested interest in your success. Because I won the contest, people were very impressed with the glider I made. And eventually I referred them to it and the shop got more customers. So that is the point I wanted to share with you. Why learning from experts is the fastest way to succeed. So think about it in your life. When were you struggling with something and couldn't figure out a way? When somebody who has walked that territory before just came and solved it in an instant, gave you a different perspective. And you will realize that learning from an expert is the fastest way to succeed. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Preetham, for that awesome example from your own life. And I can't wait to be with you to make a glider, because I have no idea how to make a glider or a piece of wood fly either. And you're an expert now. Let's give Preetham some feedback. Go to your chat and tell him what you loved and what he can do to improve. Can we have 1 minute? Thanks, Dustin. Okay, thank you, Destin. That completes our planned speeches section. We're ready to move into the spontaneous table topics, which tonight will be led by Xavier. I will turn it over to Xavier, our table topics leader.
Great evening, fellow Toastmasters. Welcome to the table topics portion, where members or guests all are welcome to volunteer for a spontaneous speech. This spontaneous speech has rules like all great things in life. And to help me with those rules, we will have first the timer explain what the table topics rules are. Over to you, Destin.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. So for the table topics, the timing rule is 1 to 2 minutes. And at 1 minute, I will show my green background. At 1 and 30 seconds, I will show my yellow background. And at 2 minutes, I'll show my red background. And then the speaker will have 30 seconds to wrap up. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you. Additionally, in your speech, you have to use the word of the day. And to explain that, we have Ajita, our grammarian.
The word of the day for tonight's meeting is gripping, which means taking a powerful hold upon one's interest or feelings. And to use it in a sentence, an example could be, the film turned out to be a gripping thriller. And in order to qualify for the virtual chocolate for the table topics, you have to use the word in your speech. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Ajita. So for tonight, the format's going to be slightly different to take advantage of our theme for tonight, which is Proverbs. I will take a volunteer and I will say a proverb. I was thinking about using more common proverbs that I know, and then I'm like, 1 minute, we have a very diverse group of people here. So what if I could take proverbs from everyone's culture, and in this, you would guess which culture the proverb came from and how you relate to it in a 1 to 2 minute speech. So that's what I'll do. You'll volunteer. I will say a proverb. You'll guess where it came from and how it relates. And then at the end, I'll say where it actually came from. I threw in a few random ones for good measure. So who is up first? Hassan. I love it.
Let me clap for myself.
Yes, please. You deserve it, even though you haven't gone yet. Okay. First proverb for Mr. Hassan. The cobra will bite you, whether you call it Cobra or Mr. Cobra. The cobra will bite you, whether you call it Cobra or Mr. Cobra. Guess what country it's from and how it relates to you.
Thank you very much, Xavier, for this proverb. A cobra will bite you, whether you call it Cobra or Mr. Cobra. So I guess this proverb doesn't come from a really cold country like Russia, where you can find cobras. So probably from a tropical country. And as you talk about cobra, my first guess will be India. Maybe I'm wrong, India, Pakistan, around this area. And the meaning of the proverb probably means that something which is, or someone who is a bad people can do, a bad person can do something, whether, however the situation is, this person can do bad things. It also reminds me this proverb, it's quote from Romeo and Juliet. It's about a rose. What's in the name? Which I don't remember that. Which means you can change the name of the rose. It will stay a rose. And I think this also reminds me, I was a quote, I think, from Mother Teresa, who was saying that whether you do good things or bad things, people will may not show gratitude to you, but you still can. You just have to continue doing the good things. So yeah, I think that a cobra, whether you call it Mr. Cobra by respect or just Cobra, he will still bite you. And this is what I think about this proverb. And I have to say it's a kind of a really gripping proverb because it makes me really think about, the meaning and where it came from. So I would say that this is my conclusion. I think it's coming from India or Pakistan, and I can relate to that because it means that, bad people will always do bad things. Back over to you.
Thank you so much. You are absolutely 100% correct. In India is where it originated from. Good take, clapping for yourself. All right, who is up next? Aman, would you like to go tonight?
Okay, Xavier.
Woohoo! Thank you. Okay, so I will give you a proverb and you'll guess what country it's from, how it relates. The proverb for tonight: dig the well before you are thirsty. Dig the well before you are thirsty.
I'm not sure if I understood it right or not. Take the well before you are thirsty. Can you explain a little bit more? Xavier?
No, no, those are the words. So I would just take it how you think it means, and it's a proverb. So I don't know if there's specifically a right answer.
Oh, okay. Dig the well before you are thirsty. Yes. Now it's yeah, I understood it. I don't. Let me think about it. It seemed like kind of a wisdom note. Maybe it's from Africa, a country in Africa, and I'm not quite sure actually. But what I understood is that you should prepare yourself before doing anything, and you should not be waiting till you became thirsty or hungry. It's like it comes to my mind the same thing like don't give me fish, but let me learn me how to or teach me how to do fishing. So this is what I got from it, but I'm not quite sure from which country, to be honest. Maybe a country in Africa, and maybe I'm choosing Africa because I'm from Africa, so like I'm somehow connected to my continent. But I think I'm not quite sure. This is what comes to my mind. It just you have to prepare yourself well, and you should not wait till the end. So if you want to do something, you have to do it like what I'm doing right now. I'm aiming for something, and that's why I'm joining Toastmaster today, because public speaking is something that's stopping me from doing it. And I should not wait till the end. That's why I'm digging the well before getting to feel thirsty. So that's it.
Wonderful work, Aman. You are absolutely correct. It's from a country in Africa. The specific one is the Congo, represented by, yeah. All right. Who is up next? Ruchi. Yes. Here is your proverb. Wishes won't wash dishes. Wishes won't wash dishes.
proverbs always gripped my attention. It is so much that we can do with our language, so many metaphors that we can give, and wishes, not wash the dishes. Can you write or say it again, Xavier? Yeah, I want to say it right.
Wishes won't wash dishes.
Wishes won't wash dishes. We have many things on the similar lines in our language that says, "Baaton se kuch nahi hota." That means you cannot, only talk, no walk gets you nowhere. So I don't know where it would have originated from. Originally, it's hard to guess. But maybe in the West, maybe where people would have dreams and not taking the time to go and do it, or maybe Europe. Maybe Europe. I have a feeling it is from Europe. My mom used that a lot. She would not trust anyone who would be all talk, no walk, people who would not do what they say. She would test someone's commitment, like Preetham shared. The person was testing his commitment throughout those 7 to 8 hours to make sure that that person is not just dreams and goals, but not willing to do anything about that. Because just wishing something doesn't make it work. So that's how I connect with that proverb. Back to you, Xavier.
Great work, Ruchi. This proverb is from the United States, though. So your first guess of the West was good. Who was up next? Mr. Preetham. I have the perfect one for you. A good laugh and a long sleep are the best cures in a doctor's book. A good laugh and a long sleep is the best cure in a doctor's book.
I really like that quote. A good laugh and a long sleep is a cure in the doctor's book. And I think it's not just a cure, it's a way to prevent anything from happening. If you sleep well and you laugh a lot, you can prevent a lot of things that bother us, not bother you. Now, I have to talk for 1 more minute on this quote, okay? I have to use the word gripping. So I will try to do that. I have always seen that when I am not sleeping well, I do not laugh a lot. And when I am laughing, that means I have slept well. So I think those things are very well interrelated, right? When I am, it originated from where? That is the question. A good laugh and a long sleep. Okay. I think Sri Lanka. I'm just picking a country. There was a mythological story in India where there were some people from Sri Lanka who were fighting against a prince called Ram. So one brother of there was a clan of brothers in Sri Lanka, and one brother out of the 6 slept for 6 years at a stretch, right? And he had a quote. He said, when things go wrong, go to sleep and everything will be okay. His name was Kumbhakaran, and it was an epic story, right? He would sleep for 6 years, and then when he woke up, he would eat a meal for the size of a 6-year-long meal. So people had to prepare these elaborate meals before they woke him up. So I think because of that story, I'm relating it to Sri Lanka. It's a very gripping story. If you want to learn more about it, we could get coffee or tea together. I can tell you more about that story. I will make it very gripping, and my time is out. So back to you, Xavier.
I was inspired by that character that you just mentioned, Freedom. I could use a 6-year long nap, and for sure. But your country was a little bit off. This one came from Ireland, so a little off. All right, we will take one more for tonight. If you were waiting for your chance, it is now. Destin. Here is your proverb. It is better to light a candle than curse the darkness. It is better to light a candle than curse the darkness. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Better to light a candle than curse the darkness. So I'm not quite sure from where it comes from, but I can definitely relate to that. I'm thinking about a situation, bad situations, instead of pointing what is wrong, or instead of saying, this is bad, this should be like this. We have to light a candle, like show the way. When no one else is doing something, we should do the work. And that reminds me of Alex's speech and the proverb. Which one was it? I think it's the one Ruchi just talk about. And yeah, that's all that I can think of right now. Light a candle instead of cursing the darkness is like doing the work. Do not criticize, do not say. So sometimes, I think sometimes it's easier to criticize than to work, to do the work that is necessary, that is needed to be done instead of changing things. So the darkness is like the representation of a bad situation, and bringing the light will be like bringing a change to that situation. So as for the country that it comes from, I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna say it's come from a country from planet Earth. Yeah, thank you for that very gripping proverb, which has a gripping, deep message in it. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Well, Destin, you are correct. It came from a country that is on Earth. One of the 143 countries on Earth. It came from one of those. Specifically, though, it came from China. So we can give a shout out to Ming Shuo, who is on his subway going to work right now, for a wonderful proverb that came from some sort of family line. This will conclude our table topic section. Let's see how we did for qualifications. Madam Grammarian, how did we do? Everyone used the word of the day?
Everyone except Iman and Ruchi, I didn't hear it from them. I heard from everyone else.
Okay. And Destin, Destin, how do we do with time?
Yeah, everybody respected the time window.
Everyone's on time?
Yeah.
Excellent. You missed the word of the day, but that is okay. Gripping is a really good word because it's one that you hear from time to time, but maybe you wouldn't know. So a gripping new word to learn. Okay, so Bhakti is setting up the polls. You can send that over to me and I will, oh, never mind. We got a whole poll thing. Just do the poll thing. And I will pass it back over to Matt Mack to continue with our journey tonight.
Thank you so much, Xavier, for not announcing the question until the person has volunteered. That builds courage for sure. I know I tend to hesitate. We are moving on at this point to our evaluation section. And as before, we have 2 evaluations for 2 speeches. But let me not take that over. We have Brendan, who is going to be our general evaluator. And I asked Brendan also which proverb may have stuck with him for the last year. And his is 3 words long: iron sharpens iron. An excellent proverb about the ways that we build each other stronger, and often that process creates sparks and clash. And if it's done right, both pieces, the irons, both end up sharper in the end. Without, I was going to say further ado, but we should not say that. With pomp and circumstance, I bring to you Brendan, who will be our general evaluator. Welcome, Brendan.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I feel I deserve all the pomp and circumstance, so it is gladly accepted. I did not like Matt's question because it's so hard to choose just one proverb. So I decided on that one because it feels so appropriate for what we're about to do, because we need to be sharpened. And the end of that little proverb is, as one man, as one person sharpens another. And yes, if you take two pieces of iron by yourself, you can sharpen it by yourself. But that's not what they're talking about. When it was written, it's for each other, to sharpen each other. As we give speeches, as we lead, as we participate in table topics, that's our part. And I loved so many elements of Pritam's speech. I won't take that away from his evaluator, except for there's a piece of doing, failing, learning, and receiving feedback. Maybe it's somebody making fun of you all day. We try not to do that in Toastmasters. And then somebody who's an expert giving you what you need to hear to get that much better. We'll go to our functionary, Dustin, to explain the time for this section of the meeting. Dustin?
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. For the evaluation, the timing rule is 2 to 3 minutes. So at 2 minutes, you're gonna see a green background, 2.5 yellow background, 3 minutes red background, and then the speaker we have 30 seconds to wrap up. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Dustin. Let's move on. Our first speaker of the evening was Alex. Ruchi, his evaluator. Now, Ruchi answered my question of what is one of your favorite proverbs? And she was kind enough to send me how it's said and in another language. And I was so tempted, and I did have something to do in between the meeting, to just take the lazy way out, say it as it is in English. But then I realized a majority of this club is speaking not in their native tongue. And I think it's about time this English-speaking boy speaks in another language. So I welcome any feedback, but also more importantly, I apologize if I say anything in error. Ruchi, her favorite proverb. Ap bere tajag bara, ap bele tajag bala. Be good and people will be good to you. Be bad and expect the same. So be nice to Ruchi as Ruchi gives feedback to Alex. Ruchi.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon, for saying it. It was my highlight of Toastmasters tonight. welcome everyone, and especially Alex. What a gripping speech it was. To begin with, I definitely want to say that all your speeches are, they have an intensity about them because you always talk with your heart. You always talk about the issues that are related to you, that are connected to your heart, that you value about, that you care about. And that is why your voice has that depth. And we all want to know more about what you're going to say. And you definitely had the appropriate title. How does it feel? How does what feel? What is that question? I didn't know. So I had all my ears on you, what you're going to talk about, because it did not give away anything. Also, I definitely want to applaud on your capacity to use vulnerability as a tool to connect. You started with the fact that you are a learner. You are not an expert. You are learning. You have went through those emotional roller coaster that you are going to take us through. So you mentioned that, which brought you down to us or brought us up to you, whatever, which way you want to go with that. You took us through a journey. You asked us, how does it feel to know something? And we all went back to the things we care about and how does it feel in our heart to think about our capacity to or incapacity to do anything about it, essentially. So you made us walk with you. And you filled a gap between typically what we think is we see, we feel, we do. But you said we see, we feel, we believe, we do. So you filled that gap, which was that was the meat of your speech that I saw, a very heavy, good content on that. To challenge, or maybe take it next step forward, what I did also with my project, my workshop in my class, and something on the same lines is in advance, connect with all the people here, have a Google form and get to know what issues they care about. So pick 2 or 3 issues, name with them or not anonymously, and talk about what they can do, how they can believe that they can do something about it to make it more our current participant centric. Other than that, your speech was extremely authentic, from the heart, and it's right about time that we talk about these things. Thank you for that speech, Alex. Over to you, Brendan.
Thank you, Ruchi, and I fully agree with that last sentiment. About time we start thinking about these things, talking about it. Our next speech this evening was Pritam and his evaluator, Hassan. Hassan also answered that question. He did not offer up how it's said in his mother tongue, and I thank you because one was enough for me. But I loved it nonetheless. Hassan wrote back, "It's better to live in peace than to be a prince. And peace is more important than all the honor and wealth that you could accumulate." Beautiful, beautiful message. Look forward to seeing what you have to say and advice you have for Pritam. Take it away.
Thank you, Brendan. The proverb is Zamallahiya Yahi Zaman Ansirki. I know it's really hard. Thank you, Brendan, and hello, Pritam. Now I would like to say that, Pritam, I really love your speech, and I love the way you sold your podcast. You did two things that already, for me, made your speech really interesting. The first one is the title. I know we don't always highlight this, but the title is really important to grab people's attention to listen to you. For instance, when I heard the title of your speech, "The Fastest Way to Succeed," I told myself, wow, this speech, I shouldn't miss any single second of that. So I'm sure also when you will have your podcast and you have it on YouTube, when people will see the title, the fastest way to succeed, they're going to click to listen to it in order to know how to succeed. And the second thing that you did well in order to sell your podcast is a story that you shared with us, a personal story. You needed money and you decided to take part to a competition in order to win and to make money. And you had things that really make any story interesting. You have, for instance, the plot. Like in any good story or a movie or, I don't know, fairy tale, you decided to do something people thought was impossible. As someone said to me, to fly a piece of wood. It's something people think is, it's not going to happen, especially a young, it can be by a young man like you, but you decided to continue and to go to seek advice from experts in order to achieve your goal. This was really interesting. And to make your story more interesting, you also had really descriptive words, like when you're talking about this expert with a thin mustache and other people, the way you describe them, we can already envision them. And you also had a body language. And I especially like when you're talking about to your friend, you told them that you're going to make this piece of wood fly. The facial expression you had when you say, what? This is not going to happen. This is what was also well done. And the fact that you also had many characters also made the story more gripping for me. And I really also like the conclusion, the first three lessons you learn, you are sharing about the way to succeed. Now, I would like to give you my personal feedback about what should have been, what you can do in order to improve this speech. The first one I would say is having a little bit longer pauses. For instance, just before the conclusion, it was kind of rushed. I didn't really feel you were going to the conclusion. So you could have taken, I don't know, 2 seconds, 3 seconds before going to this conclusion. And also all over the story when you are talking, I really found it was really fast. You could have maybe taken some time in order to have people absorb what you were saying. And also something to improve, I would say, vocal variety. For instance, when you're impersonating the expert and also your friends, we couldn't really tell the difference between your voice and theirs. And something I think would be interesting also for your feedback, or I would say the video you're going to make, is to have this like 3 lessons in your background. Learn from expert and etc. to the third. This is a good way in order to help people, understand the core of your message. But it was really an interesting speech. I really love it and look forward to your podcast.
Thank you, Hassan. Now we move on to the functionary reports. Let's hear from our timer, Dustin. How did we do tonight with the speeches and evaluations?
Everybody but Hassan was on time. I'm sorry. It was a good meeting. Everybody managed to be on time despite the red background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good job.
Better luck next time, Hassan. And let us hear from our counter, Bhakti.
Here we go. So starting with Alex, he had none. Preetham did use in his speech 1 hour, but I think it was on purpose to display nervousness in a conversation, which I will give you a pass for it, Preetham. Next, we had Xavier, who was our table topic master. You had 1 hour. Hassan, as a table topic speaker, had 3 hours and a repeated word, Iman had quite a bit of filler words. Ruchi had 2 hours. Preetham, as a table topic speaker, had none. Destin had 1 hour. Matt, as a Toastmasters, had 1 hour. Ruchi, as an evaluator, had none. Brendan, as general evaluator, had none. And Hassan, as a evaluator, had one and one I sound like a vendor from public market, but that's my report for today.
Thank you, Bhakti. Everyone else who has something to say tonight, you are scot-free. You can say whatever you want and she can do nothing about it. So enjoy. Moving on to the final functionary for this evening, grammarian. Let's hear what the words were and fun phrases we used.
Thank you, Brendan. It was such a gripping meeting. Being a grammarian is always a challenge for me because I myself am learning a lot of grammar constructs and how to use them correctly. But it's a nice way of learning it while I'm picking up sentences and on the side Googling it to see, okay, did I catch it correctly or not? So maybe you can correct me if I describe it wrongly in the chat. Moving ahead with the first speech for tonight was Alex's speech, and I did capture some good usages of grammar, which everyone can use. There were a couple of hyperboles which Alex used. The first one was short circuit the process. Generally, short circuit is used in electronics or electrical, and he used it in the process. And the other one was a jubilant environment. That was a nice way to describe the environment. These were two things which apart from all the different usages, great usages of words and expressive usages of words, these were the two things which I captured. In Preetham's speech, I captured a metaphor where Preetham says, the wood did not want to fly. How can I make it fly? And apart from that, one suggestion was when you said the store was 5 feet wide and 100 feet long, you could have probably described it in the store was 5 feet wide, but it was long like a tunnel, unending tunnel or something like that, just to give that effect that it was very deep. And apart from that, all the almost everyone who spoke used the word of the day today, except for two people in the Table Topics Master. But other than that, I really appreciated all the speakers using the word, and even some of the evaluators used it. So great use of the word, and we had lots and lots of proverbs and adages. I don't want to pick on any one of them, but they were really good, and these are really good tools to add to our speeches to make them more effective. That was a very short grammar report from my side. Back to you, Brendan.
Thank you, Ajita, for some parting comments from your general evaluator this evening. I love some of the creativity that we've included within our meetings. Wonderful backgrounds, maybe some silly pun-filled backgrounds, Bhakti, and extra bonus points to our timer tonight. Everything, your background now, the timing, the intermediate timing for the 1 minute, it was well done. Making use and having fun with the space that we're stuck in because of COVID and will soon be over. One thing I love about this club is it continues to produce excellent meetings, and there's no one person or thing that pushes it over the edge, and it's all of us. It's all of you. So thank you for somebody I visit. I'm a part of 3 different clubs, occasionally visit others, and Tigertales has a lot of really powerful, influential stuff going for it. So continue to soak in the amazing stories that are had here. It's wonderful. I also want to give a special shout out to Alex and Xavier. Since we've been on Zoom calls for so long, I've loved the two of you together in the same room, especially when you're giving a speech, because all those little laughs and comments and that we're missing by being in the same room is nice to have that, at least in one small aspect of the meeting. And after that praise, I do have to pick on Xavier once before I end. When you introduced Table Topics, you said, Table Topics has rules like all great things in life. And I couldn't disagree more. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Brendan, I was thinking the same exact thing. I was like, this is a strange thing for Xavier to be saying, but he was an Eagle Scout, so maybe there's some of that hanging on. I want to say too that this club is extremely exceptional. I visited Azim's club in Washington, D.C. last night, and they're an exceptional club too. Their president's distinguished, and apparently out of 129 clubs in Virginia, only 12 are president's distinguished in 2020. So that made me realize a little perspective on getting that in 2020. So I'm really proud of everybody here a lot. And the other thing to think about is we're very diverse, and having the proverbs from all over the world and guessing where they're from just adds to that. There's beauty in diversity, and there's growth in diversity, and to have proverbs from the United States to the Congo to China and everywhere else just adds to that. It was beautiful. It is time to find out who won the virtual chocolate. So let's have a drum roll.
I'm finding the drum roll.
That's okay. It was Hassan.
Oh.
Wonderful job, Hassan. This has been an absolutely wonderful meeting, gripping in all of its aspect. And with that, I will turn it over to our President Bhakti, who is sitting in the bathroom with the toilet paper. Bhakti.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Today was a gripping proverb theme meeting. And this proverb has been generated from my room. So for the announcements, the first announcement is like we are one of the very special clubs, as stated by Brendan and Matt, out of the many clubs that they attend regularly. So that is a plus point. Keep up the good job, guys. Second announcement that I have is that Toastmaster Internationals is having a virtual convention. Now you'll ask, what is this? That is everything Toastmasters explained by the experts in this field. So if you want more information, the link is in the chat. Just have a click and see what interests you and register. I would encourage everyone to register for the events. It's a 5-day event starting from August 23rd to August 28th. Register for what you like, and I can guarantee you that it will be worth your time. Other than that, one more announcement that I'll make is we have a YouTube channel. The link is in the chat here. So go have a look at these amazing speeches. You can see it any number of times you would like. You can note down critics for yourself. You can put a like, you can drop a comment, and you can subscribe to our channel. That is a shameless self-promotion, but that's all the announcement I have for today. If you want to participate in any roles, Hassan is still the VP Education, so you can let him know if you want to give any speeches or take part in any roles. With that, excellent meeting tonight, guys. Keep getting those goodie points from everyone. And with that, I'll conclude tonight's meeting.